Today we will see the solved question paper of April 2019 up to 2010 scheme. So the first essay is describe the pathogenesis, laboratory diagnosis and prophylaxis of diphtheria. Laboratory diagnosis of diphtheria, the specimens include different swabs from the nose, throat, other suspected lesions must be obtained before antimicrobial drugs are administered. Swabs should be collected from beneath any visible membrane. The swab then should be placed in a semi-solid transport means MES. The microscopic studies, spheres stained with alkaline methylene blue or gram stain should be at rods and typical arrangement. Cells often contain metachromatic granules, just bluish purple with methylene blue. In gram staining, purple colored beads, rods, angular and palisade arrangements that create Chinese character effect is observed. The culture specimen should be inoculated to the blood agar plate and selective medium such as telluride plate. It is intubated at 37 degree in 5% of carbon dioxide. Non-beta hemolytic region on blood agar. Telluride inhibits the growth of most upper respiratory tract bacteria and gram-negative rot and reduces the cholesterol of diphtheria, producing characteristic grey to black color on agar. Antibody detection, measurement of antibodies to diphtheria toxin in serum collected, therefore administration of antitoxin may support the diagnosis when cultures are negative. The prevention and control of Corynebacterium diphtheria are active immunization in childhood, and diphtheria toxoid yields antitoxin levels that generally adequate until adulthood. The diphtheria toxoids are commonly combined with tetanus toxoid and within cellular pertussis vaccine as a single injection to be used in the initial immunization of children. Young adults should be given boosters of toxoid because toxogenic diphtheria bacilli are not sufficiently prevalent in the population to produce the stimulus of subclinical infection with stimulation resistance. Levels of antitoxin decline with time, and many older patient persons have insufficient amount of circulating antitoxin to protect them against diphtheria. The principal aims of prevention are to limit the distribution of toxigenic diphtheria bacilli in the population and to maintain as high a level of active immunization as possible. Bed rest, isolation to prevent secondary spread, and maintenance of open airway in patients with respiratory diphtheria are now all important. Pathogenesis. The pathogenesis of diphtheria based upon two primary determinants. First one, ability to give a given strain of diphtheria to colonize the nasopharyngeal activity on the skin and its ability to produce diphtheria toxin. Since the determinants involved in the colonization of these hosts are encoded by the bacteria, the toxin encoded by the Corynebacteria, of which the molecular basis of virulence of Corynebacterium diphtheria result from the combined effects of determinants carried out in two genomes. However, there may be highly virulent phylogenic lysogenic conversion to toxigenicity. This is the pathogenesis of the Corynebacterium diphtheria. In the early phase, sore throat, low fever, swollen neck gland, but in the late stage, airway obstructions, breathing difficulty, and leads to shock. Name the methods of transmission of HIV, prescribe pathogenesis, laboratory diagnosis, and prophylaxis. So the lab diagnosis and mode of transmission is already discussed. So we'll see the pathogenesis. HIV primarily attacks the specific receptors of the host cells containing CD4 using glycoprotein GP120. Secondary attachment occurs due to co-receptor molecules. Co-receptor facilitate the tight binding of virus to a cell membrane and induce confrontal change in the viral envelope of glycoproteins. Mostly, the helper T cells and sometimes monocyte macrophages, NK cells, certain B cells, and glial cells are targeted for HIV. During infection, the virus creates cells within the local mucosa surfaces, infecting the local lymphoid tissue. The virus quickly disseminates systemically, infecting the remote lymph nodes as well as the glial cells. Then the virus quickly appears in the genital secretions. Within the week of initial infection, virus-specified cytotoxic T cells appear in the peripheral blood and lymphoid tissues. After a short period, neutralizing antibodies may be detected in the plasma and virus replication process is initiated in this process. Hosts develop adequate immune response to the virus, however, reverse transcriptase make very high replication error. So that HIV progeny virus mutate in each replication cycle, thus HIV infected cells persistent in the lymph nodes. Infected cells can be killed directly by the virus replication or indirectly by virus-specific effector of the mechanism. After several months of infection, the balance is established among the virus replication, the immune effector mechanism, and the cells available for virus replication, and the infection enters the chronic phase during which the patient is asymptomatic. Rapid viral replication accompanied by marked drop in number circulating CD4 plus T cells count. 99% of the virus replication occurs in CD4 plus T cells in the lymphoid organs and 1% of virus replication occurs monocytes and resting CD4 plus T cells. When CD4 plus T cells decline below 200 cells, infection with variety of opportunistic microbes occur. The risk of opportunistic infections and malignancies are high when the CD4 cells below 50 cells. The rate of immunologic and clinical progression is directly related to the extent of virus replication and varies considerably from individual to individual. Prophylaxis, numerous prevention interventions exist to combat HIV. The new disease vaccines are currently being researched. The best method of checking the sexual transmission of infection is educating the danger of promiscuity and other high-risk activities. Effective prevention strategies include behavior change programs, condoms, HIV testing, blood supply safety, and harm reduction efforts for injecting drug users and male circumcision. Drug injectors can avoid risk by not injecting or can reduce the risk by taking only clean equipment. Screening of all blood donors should eliminate almost all possibility of transmission. Additionally, recent research has shown providing HIV treatment to people with HIV significantly reduces the transmission to their negative partners, and the use of antiretroviral based microcide gel have found to reduce risk of HIV transmission infection in humans. Pre-exposure antiretroviral prophylaxis are also shown to be effective HIV prevention strategies in individuals at high risk for HIV. Mother-to-child transmission. This can be reduced by identifying the infected mothers and giving specific therapy in the later stage of pregnancy and the baby after birth. The prevention of AIDS rest at present. General measures as health education, identification of sources, and elimination of high-risk activities. No specific vaccines is available. Short note, autoclave, which I already discussed. Hospital Infection Control Committee. The integral component of the patient safety program of healthcare facility and responsible for establishing, maintaining infection prevention control is monitoring, surveillance, reporting, and research. Infection Control Committee is review the appropriate approved surveillance and prevention program, identify areas of interventions to assess the promote improved practice of all levels of healthcare facility, ensure appropriate staff training, safety management, development of policies for prevention control of infection, to develop its own infection control manual, monitor and evaluate performance of program and education. Function and organization of infection control program. Provision of an effective infection control program is the key to quality and reflection of the overall standard of care provided by the health care institution. Growth of ICP has been paralleled by the establishment of a number of professional and governmental organizations focused on hospital infection prevention and control. The role of Hospital Infection Control Committee is to implement the annual infection control program and its policy. Commitment towards maintaining surveillance over the hospital infection control program. Develop a system of identifying, reporting, analyzing, and investigating control of hospital-acquired infections. Develop and implement preventive and corrective programs in specific situations where infection hazards exist. Advise the medical superintendent on matters related to the proper use of antibiotics, develop antibiotic policies, and recommends remedial measures when antibiotic resistance strains have been observed. Review and update hospital infection control policies and procedures from time to time. Help to provide employee health education regarding all matters of hospital infection control. Responsibility for infection control team, develop manual of policies and procedures for aseptic isolation and antiseptic technique, carry out target surveillance of HAI, data analysis for presentation of hospital infection control committee meeting and take corrective steps, advise staff on all aspects of infection control, maintain safe environment for patients, supervise and monitor cleanliness and hygiene practice, oversee the sterilization and disinfection and monitor the use of quality control of disinfectant, advise management of risk patients and supervision of isolation procedures. Type 1 hypersensitivity is already discussed. Laboratory diagnosis of cholera. Diagnosis of cholera can never be made with certain clinical grounds. Laboratory methods of diagnosis are required to confirm the diagnosis. First is a specimen, watery stool, rectal swabs. It is necessary to preserve the specimen at 4 degrees Celsius or it is appropriate holding the medium as cholera vibrio may die in few hours at tropical temperature. Rapid diagnosis. The characteristic motility of Vibrio and its inhibitions by antiserum can be demonstrated under dark field or a phase contrast microscope. Culture. In the laboratory, the sample should be plated both directly and after enrichment culture, non-suitable solid media. The specimen should be enriched media should be incubated 6 to 8 hours including transit time. Do the gram staining for the suspected colonies and look for gram-negative curved or comma-shaped rods. Perform motility and oxidase test. Cholera vibrios show characteristic motility and as oxidase positive. In patients who have not been immunized, spectroscopic diagnosis of the infections can be made with demonstration of a rising titer of agglutinins, Vibrio cell antibodies in the paired serum or taken in the first 3 days of illness and after 7 to 10 days of antibody against cholera toxin may be detected by the ELISA test. Standard test for syphilis. The specimens, fluid from the chancre, scraping or ulcerated secondary lesions for serology, microscopy or dark sound ground microscopy or phase contrast microscopy used for demonstration of T pallidum and exudate. The direct fluorescent micro antibody test for the T pallidum is better and safer method for the microscopic diagnosis. Serological testing include non-specific test BDRL and rapid plasma RPR test, then specific test are TPHA, triphenomal hemagglutination assay, FTA-ABS, fluorescent triphenomal antibody absorption test, and TPI, triphenomal pallidum immobilization test, VDRL and TPHA are the two commonly used tests. Candida is already discussed. Life cycle of Picheria bancrofti. This is the life cycle. They develop in the adults and commonly reside in the lymphatics, while the female worms measures 8 to 100 mm in length and 0.24 to 3 mm in diameter, while the male measured about 40 mm and by 0.1 mm. Adults produce microfilaria to 254 to 296 micrometer in 2.5 to 10 micrometer, which is sheathed and have nocturnal periodicity, except South Pacific microfilaria, which have absence of marked periodicity. The microfilaria migrate in the lymph and blood channels, moving actively through lymph and blood. Then the third step, the mosquito ingests microfilaria and during a blood meal. And after ingestion, the microfilaria lose their sheath and some of them work their way through the wall of proventricularis and cardiac portion of the mosquito's midgut and reach thoracic muscles. The microfilaria develop in the first stage larva and subsequently the third stage infective larva. The third stage infective larva migrate to the hemozyte to the mosquito's proboscis and can infect another human when the mosquito takes a blood meal. The first, carriers. Carrier is a person who harbor pathogenic microorganism without suffering from any disease from it. Classification, healthy carriers. These are the persons who harbor the microorganism but have never suffered from the disease. convalescent carrier, and then one recovered from that particular disease. Temporary carrier state lasts for less than 6 months. Chronic carrier state lasts for several years or rest of their life. Bacterial endotoxin, exotoxin. Exotoxin is a toxin secreted by bacteria. Exotoxin can damage the host by destroying the cells or disrupting normal cellular metabolism. They are highly potent and can cause major damage to the host. Exotoxins may be secreted or similar to endotoxins but may be released during the lysis of the cell. Exotoxin susceptible antibodies produce the immune system, but many exotoxins are so toxic that they may be fatal to the host before the immune system have a chance to mount the defense against them. For this reason, antitoxin, antiserum containing antibodies are injected to provide passive immunity. They may exert their effect locally or produce systemic effect. Well-known exotoxins include botulinum toxin produced Clostridium botulinum, Cronibacterium diphtheria toxin produced during the life-threatening symptoms of diphtheria, tetanospasmin produced by Clostridium tetani. The toxic properties of most exotoxins can be inactivated by heat or chemical treatment to produce a toxoid. Enam staining is already discussed. Then Trichomonas vaginalis. Trichomonas vaginalis is an anaerobic flagellated protozoan parasite causative agent of trichomoniasis. It is the most common pathogenic protozoan infection of humans of industrialized countries. Infection rate in men and women are similar, but women are more usually symptomatic, while infections in male are usually asymptomatic. The transmission occurs via direct skin-to-skin contact with the infected individual, most often through vaginal intercourse. Classically, the cervical smear infected woman may have transparent halo around the superficial cell nucleus, but more typically the organism itself is seen within the slight of cyanophilic tinge, faint eccentric nuclei, and fine acidophilic granules. Egg of roundworms. The female roundworms may lay more than 20,000 eggs a day. These 2 lakhs eggs per day. These eggs leave the body through the bowel movements. If a child swallows a roundworm, he passes down the intestine hatch into larva. Larva can pass through the intestine wall to the bloodstream and then travel to the lungs and into the throat. They can be swallowed again and return to the small intestine and grow into adult worms. The distinctive eggs are easily recognized by under microscope. Roundworm eggs are usually plentiful, but in some cases it may take one fecal examination to find them. Occasionally, adult roundworms can be found in the cat's stool or vomit. Streptococcal infection. Streptococci are a gram-positive aerobic organism that cause many disorders include pharyngitis, pneumonia, wound and skin infections, sepsis, and endocarditis. Symptoms vary with the organ infected. Sequelae of infection due to A. Beta hemolytic streptococci may include rheumatic fever and glomerulonephritis. Most strains sensitive to penicillin, but macrolide resistant strains have recently emerged. Diagnosis by culture, sometimes rapid antigen test or antibody titers. Streptococci are readily identified by culture of a sheep blood agar plate. Patients with streptococcal pyoderma usually do not have a significant ASO response. Japanese encephalitis. Japanese encephalitis is caused by which is spread by the bite of infected mosquito. It is more common in rural and agricultural areas. Most cases are mild. Rarely it causes serious brain swelling with a sudden headache, high fever, and disorientation. Japanese encephalitis diagnosed commercially available tests detecting JE virus specific IgM antibodies in serum and or in CSF. Treatment involves supportive care and vaccine is available now. Mantox test has already been discussed. Live viral vaccines. Live viral vaccines help the body's immune system recognize fight against infections caused by non-weakened form of virus. Examples of the vaccines are chickenpox vaccine, measles, mumps, and rubella. Live vaccines contain live attenuated microorganisms that are still capable of replicating within the host. Microorganisms are weakened, meaning that they have lost most of the disease-causing capacity but still possess of some of the immunological properties. In most cases, live vaccines show significantly higher immunogenicity and inactivated vaccines since natural infections is limited almost perfectly by eliciting wider range of immunological response, both humoral cells B and cellular cells. A single vaccine administration usually is sufficient to induce long-term, sometimes even lifelong protection. Passive immunity. Passive immunity is a transfer of humoral immunity Passive immunity can occur naturally when maternal antibodies are transferred to the fetus, the placenta, and it also be induced artificially when high levels of antibodies specific to a pathogen or toxins are transferred from the non-immunologic person through blood products that contain antibodies as immunoglobulin therapy or anti-serum therapy. Passive immunization is used when the high risk of infection and insufficient time for body to develop its own immune response or to reduce symptoms of ongoing or immunosuppressive disease. Passive immunization can be provided when people cannot synthesize antibodies and when they have been exposed to a disease and they are not have immunity against that. Thank you.